Mary Calvi. I have a question for Cardinal Dolan and Cardinal Tobin. Cardinal Dolan, before you were sequestered, you told me that you were hoping for a pope who had pastoral experience within a diocese, in a church community, a gifted linguist, and a person with Vatican experience, but maybe not a Vatican lifer. And that certainly described Cardinal Prevost. So I was wondering from you and also from Cardinal Tobin, when you were going in to the conclave, did you have an idea in your head that Cardinal Prevost would be the next pope? And also on the subject of gnocchi, how was the food in the conclave?
Well, Mary, thanks for reminding me of what I had said in our enjoyable interview. I think it was back at home. Thank you. And yeah, that means a lot to us. It means a lot to us cardinals that you would have a pastor. Pastor is the Latin word for shepherd. Jesus, this Sunday, we're going to celebrate Good Shepherd Sunday when Jesus says, I'm the Good Shepherd. We look for somebody who's a good shepherd, a good pastor. And that usually is translated into that part of his curriculum vitae would be extensive pastoral experience. Lord knows Pope Francis had it. And Lord knows Pope Leo XIV has had it. That usually means parish or diocese, although a good priest and a good bishop is a good shepherd wherever he is assigned, okay? Cardinal Pierre has spent most of his life in the diplomatic service of the Holy See, maybe not in a parish or diocese, but he's still a good shepherd. But we would look to that, Mary, very, very much. The food, let's just say it was a good impetus to get this over with. All right?
And I could follow by first verifying what Cardinal Dolan said, because last night they had an incredible meal. As I said, they've been holding back, till we got the job done. But I do remember being so shocked the day after Easter, getting the word about 5 o'clock in the morning of Pope Francis's death. And as I was shaving later that morning, I was listening to a segment on the BBC in which Cardinal Bo, who was mentioned from Myanmar, was being interviewed. And towards the end, the journalist, with the customary discretion, said, without violating any secrecy, do you have some candidates in mind? And Cardinal Bo surprised me by saying, well, yes, there's one or two I've been thinking of. And I said, Joe Tobin, you got a candidate in mind? And I said, absolutely not now. And I don't think it's just laziness. There are other things I probably could do more promptly. I needed to listen to, especially these discussions before, as I'd valued what happened in the Synod so much, because it was an opportunity not simply in Rome to listen, but in all places, Newark, New Jersey. And I came to that Synod with a lot clearer ideas of what I heard from the 16,000 or so people that participated. So I think that I would imagine there was one or two that came with somebody else in mind and changed because of what they heard from the people. So thank you.
Okay. Well, we are running a little short on time. I'm going to give one last question to a Catholic outlet. I'm going to call on Cindy Wooden with Catholic News Service.
I was wondering, particularly Cardinal Tobin, you were superior of the Redemptorists when Pope Leo was superior of the Augustinians, I think. And so you were in Rome at the same time together. And then you were in the Curia, and he was, I think, in his order and then bishop. And now you serve on the dicastery for bishops that he was the head of. How would you describe the way he works and administers and kind of runs things? what have you noticed about his personality, how he handles difficult challenges, difficult personalities?
Well, there's a lot of questions there, Cindy. Let me take a couple of them. Yes, we did work together on a number of projects, and we had similar experiences in the sense that as Superior General, you live about half of the year in this city, and then half of the year in other places. And I think that has to have an effect on you. It's much like in the United States. If you're privileged to work in another culture other than the one you were raised in, you have to change. I remember a Spanish priest at a meeting in Brooklyn, of all places. It was a conference on the particular forms of worship that Latin Americans feel most at home. And at lunch, he said, "I feel sorry for you." And so I'm bracing myself, for whatever he feels sorry about. I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you're working with these people and you're not one of them." I said, "But I feel like I'm one of them, and I really find life doing what I do." He said, yeah. He said, "But it's like taking a pine tree out of the northern forest and planting it on the beach in Puerto Rico. The pine tree can grow, but it has to change." And so, it's not like a schizophrenic split personality, but it's more like a broadening experience. And I think Bob has had, or Pope Leo has had that, And so he's learned to think different ways. He's learned not only languages. Language is just one cultural indicator. In fact, there's some other things that are even more important. And that's going to serve him well. And yes, he's navigated the corridors around in Rome, and that'll serve him well. I don't think he's one that likes to pick fights with people, but he is not one to back down if the cause is just. And I guess the last thing I'd say about Bob is that he really is a listener, and then he acts once he's heard. So he has a lot of courage, and I just thanked him yesterday when it was my turn for saying yes to such an awesome responsibility.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Eminences, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the media, for your participation today, and thank you, Monsignor Powers and the Pontifical North American College, for hosting us today. Have a good evening, everyone.